long, right?
It shouldn't.
Let me just go ahead.
Yeah, it shouldn't take too long. I'm thinking probably maybe 15 minutes or so, if that.
Great. Yeah, so I can, what I'll do is I'll try and record everything locally on my end and then just cut it up later. And then, like, I'll use Audacity and then I'll also use OBS just to make sure all our bases are covered.
Okay, that sounds good. Do you want to be the one to upload it then to the discussion area?
Sure. Let me just triple check the actual posting area to make sure we're good to go with everything.
Okay.
Okay, looks like everybody's interviewing, or they're posting the interviews separately, but I can just send you whatever files I end up with. It looks like, okay, so it's either audio or video. So all we really have to record is audio, and then I can just send you the MP3s for it, and then that should be quick and easy.
Okay, well, do you want to, do you want to keep on with the video, or do you want to just switch to just doing the audio?
Honestly, I think just audio would be easier,
Okay.
especially because for use of Audacity.
Okay.
If you want video, I can try something with OBS.
It's fine with me. We can mute
but I don't.
Yeah, we can mute the video cameras. That's fine with me, and just do the audio for this.
Okay. Yeah. So then, just want to go ahead and test on Audacity, make sure that everything is going to record on my end.
Okay.
So just whenever you're ready, if you just say a couple of things.
Okay. How's this? Is it picking me up? Is it recording?
It is, but for some reason, it's not very loud. Let me try again. It's probably just Audacity. All right, we can try one more time.
Okay. Is it recording me now? How's it sound now? Is it louder?
Little bit. I could probably just adjust gain after the fact. Might come through again. Record audio on your end as well, just in case, because we don't want to lose anything.
Okay. Yeah, it's a recording on my end as far as the Zoom, so I should have the audio file as well, because I'm recording the meeting.
Okay, great.
For the audio as well.
Oh, okay. Can I just do that through Zoom?
Yeah, you should be able to. Once I end the meeting, I may be the only one that gets the file, so I may have to send it to you, so you can use the file that way. But it'll do it as an MP. It's either MP3 or MP4.
Awesome. Okay then. So then we can, whenever you're ready, we can get started. Do you want me to ask you questions first, or?
We can, if you want to go ahead and get mine out of the way first. We can start with me, and then I'll ask you your questions for your part of the interview.
All right, great. So then I will start recording in. All right. Hi, Diane. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So I'm just going to ask a couple of questions about writing and kind of your background and exposure to the field, as well as some things that help you with your workflow. So to start, I'd like to ask, do you remember the moment when you decided to become a writer?
I do. I was in sixth grade, as a matter of fact. I had an English assignment to write a short story for my English teacher, and I got the grade back from her, and she really liked the short story, so it got me to thinking about writing as possibly as a career and how much I enjoyed writing. So that was the moment that I knew I wanted to be a writer.
Oh, wow, really awesome. So you kind of had a teacher who helped to inspire you then?
Yeah, and also even in high school, I had an English teacher that was very encouraging as far as the writing, and she also became an undergrad instructor of mine as well in college. That was an English teacher of mine, and she kept encouraging me even after all that time. She encouraged me to keep writing. So I had two teachers that were very encouraging as far as the writing.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's a really funny coincidence then that were kind of able to have that continued support. Um, Now, what are some non-writing pastimes that kind of influence your work?
That's funny. I'd have to say it's my favorite TV shows and my favorite video games influence me a lot. What my favorite TV show is Supernatural, and so I get a lot of my paranormal ideas a lot of times from that, and also a couple of my favorite games, which one of them is the Lord of the Rings Online that I play. I've been playing that for like 5 years. So to get to play in Middle Earth as like an elf or a dwarf or a hobbit is so much fun. And I find myself sometimes getting my ideas from that as well. And games like World of Warcraft and Elder Scrolls Skyrim is another one I play. So I get a lot of my fantasy ideas come from those. So those influence me a lot as far as
Okay,
being paranormal.
very cool. Yeah, so kind of that like high fantasy role playing
Yeah,
genre seems to
yeah,
be okay.
yes.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, what is something you would say to your past self about starting to get into the field?
I would say that deciding to get into the field, I would tell my younger self to just to stick with it and not to give up no matter what anybody else says, because a lot of people can be negative and not really supportive because they don't see writing as a career. So I would say just forget about the negativity of people that don't see writing as something that you could make a career from, and just do what you want to do, which makes you happy. And if writing is it, do it, and just to not give up on it.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. It's really good that you know have that level of clarity to know it's as much as you can really make it into. So don't let negativity influence you and
Right,
prevent you from chasing that.
right.
Now, how would you describe your writing style?
Oh, writing as far as writing because I write the paranormal and fantasy, whether it's urban fantasy or the high fantasy. So I'm more of the narrative style of, and it depends as far as the narrative style and what I do, because I don't really plot out my stories a lot. I just write, free write when I get started on the story. So some of my stories are character driven and some of them are plot driven. For me, it just all depends on the story and what my writing style may be for that particular story as far as the narrative in, and am I going to take it from the characters, be it character driven, or is it going to be plot driven? So it just all depends on the story and how I'm feeling at that time with the story, what my style is at that time.
Hmm. Okay, so you take kind of a free form approach in the early stages,
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of,
just kind of get things down and then figure out what direction you want.
right. Yeah, I find myself, I do the more of the plotting and the outlining towards the end. When I'm getting ready to start writing, I just jot down the ideas to begin with, and then I start the major part of it, the plotting and all that stuff after that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can definitely see how that approach might help with kind of a speculative fiction environment. It sounds like is what you tend to lean towards. Now, my final question, and I know we kind of talked about your previous influences and particularly like pastimes and how those kind of influence to you, but I think, in more of a present tense, like if you're going to sit down to write, what inspires you? What helps you to get into that space?
A lot of times it's just I may watch one of my favorite episodes of my favorite TV shows, or I may sit down and watch a movie. I may read. It depends. It may come from something I'm reading at the time, as far as the book I'm reading. I may get inspiration from that. A lot of times, and it's funny, is some of my inspiration from dreams I have, because I will sometimes dream a scene that I want to write down. And so that inspires me to start writing a story from something I've dreamed about, or something I've read, or even something I've watched, or even a game. Like I said, as far as my non-writing pastimes, some of the video games, sometimes I might go to a location in one of the video games, and just being there playing can inspire me to write a story, or have a scene that I want to put in a story, or something like that I need to get down right at that point in time. So I had to say it comes from a lot of different places. It all depends on that, I guess, that particular time, and which genre I'm working on, as far as where my inspiration might come from at that point in time.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you definitely draw from a lot of different places, kind of taking advantage of your different pastimes and locations, and really kind of using what comes to you. I think that's a really great way to approach that. Now, Diana, I want to thank you very much for answering all of these questions.
You're very welcome.
And great. I'm glad to hear it. So yeah, we're going to go ahead. It's funny.
Okay.
Great. So I'm going to save this that I have here locally, and then I'll send that to you, and we can start the new recording for mine if you want.
Okay.
I'm also going to save this separately just to make sure if I have to touch it up or anything. Great. So yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay.
I'm gonna actually make sure I have the questions in front of
me. That's what I did. I printed out the questions you sent me, and then I had them in front of me so I could use it as a cheat sheet, basically.
Right.
So, okay. Okay, we're here with Mustafa, and I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, no, I get it. I can try my best to answer them off the cuff, but it probably won't come out.
Okay. Okay. The first question is what is your writing process?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think my writing process is really kind of dictated by the direction that I'm taking the story in at that particular moment. I usually know when I'm sitting down, kind of where I'm going to go with it. If I know I'm going to be writing kind of more action-packed sequences, I usually try to.
Okay, he's freezing up.
I like myself in that fast-paced setting. If I know I'm going to be fighting, or if I know I'm going to be writing something a little bit more character-focused, I actually might go to a place where I know there are going to be people. Like I might go sit down in like a cafe or something like that, or the library, and just kind of. I'll still listen to my music, but it's something that helps me get a little bit more in kind of collaborative setting, or really kind of getting a feel for what an environment's like when people are present, because characters don't necessarily exist in a vacuum, for instance.
Right. That's a good process. I sometimes go to the library or to a local cafe that's close by here, just to get out of my comfort zone of my office here at home. I will go just be surrounded by people and kind of people watch as I'm writing to get different feels of how they're interacting. So that's a good writing process. I do that sometimes as well. Okay. Who are some of your favorite authors?
Yeah, so honestly, a lot of my influences for writing actually are kind of creative and narrative directors and authors within the video game space, more so than a lot of traditional written work. Like I can sit down and read a book and enjoy it, but ultimately, as far as the influences on like the way that I approach writing, people like Tetsuya Takahashi from Monolith Soft behind the Xenoblade series, for instance, or people like Shigesato Itoi, responsible for the Mother series of games. Really, people who kind of focus on the things that I feel are most important that are kind of speculative in nature. Ultimately, the messages that I'm trying to tell are that of camaraderie, of growing up, of experiencing the world, coming of age, that sort of thing. And so the fantastical elements are kind of a vehicle to drive those messages home. So those authors, I feel, are a pretty accurate depiction of that principle.
Oh, okay. So the next question is what is it about the genre that you write that drew you to it initially? What as far as why you wanted to start writing in that genre?
Yeah, I think in the world of sci-fi fantasy, when you can make characters do things that a person couldn't, you can really find ways to use unique physical action to describe self-expression. So a character might fly when they're stressed out,
Yeah.
or they perhaps see a physical manifestation of rage surrounding them in a moment where they're angry or passionate. And so I think it gives a little bit more freedom to allow for characters to kind of wear what they're feeling in an external way, in ways that traditionally we otherwise couldn't outside of like facial expressions. So that's probably the big one. Also, creating environments that couldn't necessarily exist otherwise. I think setting is really kind of the big draw for me for speculative fiction.
Yeah, I have to agree with that as far as like setting, because that's what drew me to writing paranormal and fantasy, especially the high fantasy, the epic fantasy, is being able to create a world that wouldn't really otherwise exist. Like for me, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, so for me, Middle Earth is my escape when I like to read something that will take me to a different world. And the way Tolkien describes Middle Earth and reading it, you can imagine just what the places look like. So to be able to create a place like that is so much fun to do, and create the world building is one of the things I find fun to do when creating a story that is going to be set in a world that's not really a real setting. So I just let my imagination go when I'm creating a fictional world like that. So I definitely understand where you're there's that. Okay, so this is another question about, you talked about the video games as far as being an influence as far as some of your favorite authors. So, so basically coming off of that too is what authors would you say have been an influence on you in the writing other than say the video game creators and writers?
Right, yeah. So it's funny when I think about the authors that inspired me to pursue writing, I really think about authors that I used to read when I was a lot younger, more so than people that I've read recently. So like for instance, even though she's not necessarily speculative, like Judy Blume and the Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, those types of books, always kind of focused on like family dynamics and the fact that the challenges that can come along with that, and growing up with siblings, things that I could always very personally identify with. Or R.L. Stine with the Goosebumps series. I used to read one Goosebumps book a day pretty much when I was in that age range, and so really able to apply those is something that I think I got exposed to pretty early, and so those authors probably inspired me to take that next step.
Yeah, I was the same way. I read my go-to books when I was younger was the Hardy Boys and the Nancy Drew mysteries. Those were some of the ones I read
Okay.
that influenced me as well as far as writing. But I want to say, I guess a couple of the biggest influences to me for my writing was Anne Rice and J.R.R. Tolkien, because I read The Lord of the Rings in high school, and that helped me decide that
Right.
I wanted to write epic fantasy, high fantasy, and write about elves and other races and stuff. So like dwarves and wizards and things like that. So those were two, as far as going back when I was younger, I would say those two were the main starting influences to me, were Anne Rice and J.R.R. Tolkien, as far as writing about vampires and other types of creatures and stuff, and inventing those types of stories. So, and okay, the last question, what are you reading now that that is just something you're just reading and not really having to do with, just reading it for, say, research type stuff? Because I find myself reading a lot of stuff sometimes just to,
Right.
there's writing style and stuff. So what are you just reading for fun right now?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. Me, the day job before a lot of time to read, but most recently I've been reading Boy Snowbird, which is actually kind of like in New England, so it's definitely been pretty interesting. A little bit different from what I'm used to, and delve into it the way I want to, which is why audiobooks have definitely come in handy.
Okay. I'm the same way. I have to agree. Audiobooks are definitely coming in handy a lot, especially with school and doing the writing and getting other stuff done. I find myself just popping in an audiobook to start listening to it when I'm wanting to read, just to be reading.
Right, exactly. It's great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Mustafa.
Nice long run trip, and
yeah. So thank you for answering the question.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for doing the interview. And we'll talk again soon, I hope.
All right. Go ahead and send you over what I have shortly.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to go at do you need me to stay on for a few more minutes? Do you need to get anything else? Because I'll go ahead and end the meeting, so start doing the processing from Zoom to get the file.
No, I think I'm all set here. I'm going to send that information to you now because I'm actually about to step out, so I'm not going to be able to cut anything or edit anything at the moment.
Okay.
But I can send you what I have as an attachment, if that's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. That works. So like I said,
anything else you can make?
no, I'm good. Other than, do you want to just upload them separately to the discussion area? Because I think she said we could do one upload, or we could do two separate uploads under each of our names. So you want to do one under your name and I'll do the one under mine?
Yeah, that's fine. Sure, I'll send you both of them anyway, just so you have them. But I think that's fine too. We can each post ours separately. So
okay.
I think you would post the one that you conducted with me.
Yeah, that's what I understood it to be. So because I know the two separate videos could be done too, but I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna have to look and see how everybody else is uploading theirs, and we can email each other and figure out which one's gonna we'll do.
Looks like only one person has one up right now. That's why I checked, and it looked like they were doing them separately.
Okay, well, if you want to wait till you get through editing and cutting everything, we can wait till then to upload it.
All right, yeah, that's fine too. I'll probably have to revisit it at some point tomorrow then.
Okay, that's fine. And I may go ahead and, like I said, I may go ahead and do this file and upload it under my name as well, so we have two files for her to look at, no matter what, in case one doesn't work for some reason.
Yeah, fair enough. Always want to be prepared for it. So, yeah, all right. Well, that's all good on my end then. Thank you for setting up the meeting.
You're very welcome. Thank you for doing the interview as well and being the partner for this.
Oh, looks like we got frozen up.
Yep, I see that.
All right. Well, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.